Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for coming on board during your lunchtime to nourish your thinking and thoughts of where you can go with positive duty. And I'm really feeling very privileged and thankful to share this for the commission to be able to share this platform with stakeholders who are taking leadership in a space that has a lot of question marks in terms of how do we do it. And I think part of what we're trying to achieve with these thought leadership sessions is to enable external stakeholders to come on board to listen to others as part of the communities of practice in developing your own positive duty performance based on a strength-based approach in your own organizations. So as Steve has mentioned, this project is part of a broader project that we are doing called Project Butterfly to create the butterfly effect in the 6 regions of the Northern Territory to activate positive duty within businesses and organizations across the territory. So we're really thankful that both Nikki and Danielle are here to represent Ironbark. Just so you know, Nikki Allison, she's the Corporate Compliance Manager, and Danielle Evans is the Workforce Development Coordinator, both of whom I've had the great pleasure of working over the last year, and just to sort of see where you are heading in terms of actualizing, standardizing, and optimizing your positive duty performance at your organization. So without much ado, I hand over the platform to Nikki and Danielle.
Excellent. Thank you, Jeswyn, and thank you, Stephen. And thank you to everyone who has given up their lunch breaks to spend a little bit of time with us. And we appreciate the opportunity to share our positive duty journey with you all. We would like to take you through our journey, and as Jeswyn and Stephen have mentioned, we do ask that you save any questions till the end of the session. As Jeswyn mentioned, we are focusing on strengths-based, so please bear with us with the IT. We've got a couple of screen sharing scenarios we need to move through, and we will do our best. So Danielle's going to run through with you sort of the overview and the layout of what we're going to talk about. While she's doing that, I'm going to do my best to screen share. So obviously I'm Nikki, this is Danielle, and we will commence our presentation.
Yeah, so as Nikki said, she's going to work on the IT side of things, and I will just share with you a brief overview of what we'll be covering today. So our presentation today reflects Ironbark's journey, which is one that continues to evolve as we listen, engage with our teams, and reframe our own perspectives to better serve our people and communities. So our commitment to positive duty is not just a compliance obligation. We see it as a leadership responsibility that we're embedding across all levels of our organisation. So in today's presentation, we will cover an introduction to Ironbark. So for those of you who aren't familiar with us, we'll share with you who we are and what we stand for. We'll share a video message from our CEO, Sean Pearce. We'll take you through our approach to positive duty and how it aligns with our strategic plan and our Indigenous recruitment and retention strategy. We'll talk through how we're embedding positive duty into our workplace practices, what our short-term and long-term goals look like in this space, what it means to be proactively living our positive duty responsibilities, the challenges that we're working through because we're not perfect, and finally, we'll open it up to the floor for some Q&A and some shared reflection. So hopefully you can all see the screen now.
Yep. Oh, wonderful. Beautiful. Thank you for the thumbs up. We are speaking to you today from beautiful Larrakia country, which experienced some unseasonal rain this morning, which was wonderful. So Ironbark Aboriginal Corporation acknowledges the Larrakia people as the traditional owners, their connection to the land, country and community. We pay respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, their cultures, and to the elders past, present and emerging. That acknowledgement of country was curated by our board and is shared across our organisation, including on our website, in our annual reports, and it is in the majority of our buildings that are located on Larrakia country. I would also like to acknowledge that we are gathered virtually from many places, each with their own traditional custodians. I extend my respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples joining us today, and warmly acknowledge the presence of non-First Nations people who are part of our gathering.
So just to give you a bit of background about Ironbark and who we are and what we do. So we are a 100% Indigenous owned, not-for-profit organisation based in Darwin, NT. We are governed by an Aboriginal Board of Directors who are represented across 16 member organisations. The programs and impact that we have in our communities, so we run a diverse band of initiatives spanning social enterprises, community services, and a number of commercial entities. At present, we have a diverse workforce, I should say, of over 100 employees. So just to give you some history as well, we are very excited to be celebrating our 25-year anniversary this year. So Ironbark has been around for 25 years. And we plan on being around for a lot longer. So we anticipate continued growth in staffing to support our expanding business divisions. The growth will be guided by a flexible, culturally safe management structure and a deepening commitment to positive duty, ensuring inclusion, safety and respect are embedded as we strengthen both our community and commercial relationships.
And fundamental to all of what Danielle has stated is our vision statement, our mission statement and our values. Ironbark is a values-driven organisation. Our commitment to respect, integrity, commitment, courage and collaboration is not just written on paper, it's embedded in everything that we do. And for those of you who do know our CEO, Sean Pearce, he is walking the talk every day. These values shape how we lead, how we work, and how we walk alongside community. It's through this commitment that we truly live our vision of changing lives one story at a time, because real change happens when people feel safe to be themselves, contribute fully, and are treated with dignity and care. We now just have to change screens again, which just bear with me one moment. Oh my, please forgive us. Oops, sorry. Why won't it let me get at that one?
Hello, I'm Sean Pearce, CEO of Ironbark Aboriginal Corporation, and I want to talk to you about something that's incredibly important to Ironbark, our commitment to positive duty. Since the 2nd of January 2024, under the Northern Territory Anti-Discrimination Act, all organisations, including ours, have a legal and moral responsibility to actively prevent discrimination, sexual harassment and victimisation in the workplace. But at Ironbark, this goes beyond ticking a compliance box. Positive duty aligns with who we are and what we stand for, an organisation committed to safe, inclusive and respectful workplaces, not just for our team members, but for the clients and communities that we serve every day. So where are we at with our positive duty rollout? We've already taken some solid steps. First, we've formalised our positive duty commitment statement. It sets out our intent loud and clear. That Ironbark is proactive in creating workplaces where everyone is valued and protected. This commitment isn't just for show, it's owned by our board and our senior management and it's embedded into everything we do. Second, we're focusing on intentional leadership. This means our leaders are expected to role model behaviour, respectful behaviour. But we know that the culture doesn't just come from the top. It's being built from the ground up. That's why we're committed to supporting and empowering respectful behaviour at work at every level of work in Ironbark. We're also building knowledge and networks. This includes developing training programs tailored to our diverse workforce and connecting with community organisations to make sure we're learning and sharing best practice. Our reporting systems are being strengthened too. We're creating clear, accessible ways for people to speak up safely and ensuring we respond to concerns quickly and effectively. We've started conducting risk assessments to identify areas where discrimination or harassment could occur, and we're acting early to address these risks. Importantly, this is a process of continuous improvement. We'll be reviewing our policies regularly, and we're committed to involving our team in shaping this journey. Transparency matters. So what's next? Over the coming months, we'll be rolling out training sessions, refreshing our policies and engaging in meaningful conversations right across the organisation. Positive duty is everyone's responsibility. Whether you're a staff member, contractor, supplier or visitor, we all play a role in creating a culture of respect, safety and inclusion at Ironbark. This isn't just about compliance, it's about doing the right thing for our people and our communities. And that's something that we're really proud of and we stand behind. Thank you for being a part of the journey. Cheers.
Excellent. So continuing on from Sean's message there, and just to give you some context as to all the different entities and all the different moving parts that make up Ironbark Aboriginal Corporation, we effectively operate in two spaces. So our core business, as started 25 years ago, it was in the not-for-profit space, in the community development and employment space. So we've also got our social enterprise, Aboriginal Bush Traders Cafe and Gallery in the city there. And then on the for-profit side, we've diversified our businesses and we have Ironbark Services, Ironbark Labour Hire, Rapid Clean, Darwin Precast Products, and Ironbark Account Support Services. So our footprint is one of the largest ones in Australia in the CDP program. So our service area covers the region from Nucky's Lagoon out to Daly River, down to just north of Pine Creek and out to Mataranka. So you can see there's quite a spread of sites there across the top end.
As Danielle mentioned, we have been around for 25 years and we initially commenced with the CDE program as it was known. This has now changed and morphed into the CDP program. It's a government initiative designed to support employment and skills development in remote communities across Australia. It provides opportunities for job seekers to gain work experience, develop skills and contribute to their local community through structured activities. Instead of traditional job-seeking programs, CDP focuses on community-based projects that improve local infrastructure, services and social wellbeing. Participants engage in activities like land care, construction, arts administration and other work that benefits their community while building their skills and employability. As Danielle mentioned, the Darwin Daly CDP region is one of the largest in the country, with 6 main Ironbark activity centres spread across the region: Holtz, Humpty Doo, Berry Springs, Bellewen, Adelaide River and Nayu. Each centre runs workshops and learning programs to give participants hands-on training opportunities and real-life work experiences.
So at Ironbark, we consider our people to be our strength. So just to give you an idea of the diverse workforce that we are working with, as we touched on earlier, these are real statistics out of our system at present. So again, we are working with a number of different diverse intersectionalities across our team. So gender diversity at present, we are working with a predominantly female team, so 68 female employees to 40 male, with 3 preferring not to say. We have a very strong First Nations representation, with 49 of our team members currently identifying as First Nations, 58 that don't identify as First Nations, and 4 who prefer not to say. From an age diversity perspective, as most businesses are these days, we are working across a multi-generational team. So we've got quite a fairly even spread across the different age brackets there. And we've also popped into the statistics there, numbers around flexible work agreements. So in the past 12 months, we have accommodated, and we've been requested 11 flexible work agreement requests, of which we have accommodated 100%. Majority of those are based around family caring responsibilities. So we have 9 agreements in place for our female staff and 2 for our male team. And again, with our parental leave in the past 12 months, we have received and approved 6 requests for parental leave from our team, 5 of which have come from female team members and 1 from male team members. So just to give you an idea of the diverse workforce we work through. We've also seen a number of team members through to retirement, and we also welcome many first-timers to the workforce across our different organisational units.
So this leads us into our approach to positive duty, which when we went through the process of our strategic plan, which happened towards the back end of 2024, we did apply a positive duty lens to our strategic priorities. As Jeswyn mentioned, we did have quite a bit of collaboration with Jeswyn and how we could look at doing this. And on the left-hand side of the table there, you'll see the strategic priority and its connection to positive duty. An example for our employment and career development pathways, I'll talk more in depth about it in our next slide, is we have a dedicated Indigenous recruitment and retention strategy and what that looks like. For our organisational culture, governance and accountability, we really focus on the policies we implement and have quite a heavy focus on the language we use. So what we found is typically, for example, a anti-discrimination, bullying and harassment policy, the language focuses are on anti. So when we developed the policy, we shifted the language and focused on prevention. So we have a discrimination, bullying and harassment prevention policy, because we are striving to prevent it happening and creating the workplaces where prevention is the focus. What's next for us in this space is our code of conduct. We are looking at reinvigorating that piece of work, and a positive duty lens again will be applied. Our code of conduct is directly linked back to our values, which we touched on in a previous slide, and how can those values tie back into positive duty? Because what this does is it just continues to reinforce what we have genuine conversations about. They're backed up by not only legislation, but they're also backed up by our policy and our procedures. So it just continually reinforces the messaging. For our operational excellence, it's about improving workplace safety. So we are systematically going and addressing and looking at risk assessments across our sites. And we're also responding to the change in the local environment, the concerns our staff might be bringing forward. So we'll adapt or bring in different training programs. Danielle's very engaged with our learning management system, conversations. We're looking at lunch and learns. We're just looking at different ways to bring the learning into different teams, and we really recognise that one size doesn't fit all. For market expansion and growth, a big thing for us here is community engagement, and that is about genuine consultation and genuine conversations. You heard us talk about the CDP program and how that is based around what are the needs for the community and how do we go about that, and that is genuine consultation. It is a two-way conversation. We apply that same framework for the community, for our teams, for our staff members and for the majority of our stakeholders. So that is how we've applied positive duty to our strategic plan, and vice versa, and they sort of go hand in hand now. And this next slide, this one is, as I mentioned before, the direct correlation between positive duty, the strategic plan, our Indigenous recruitment and retention strategy. And then when we looked more broadly, we identified how we could support, or how these measures will support, closing the gap. So our Indigenous recruitment and retention strategy is broken down into 4 different pillars, which are engage, retain, empower and cultivate. They have a connection to positive duty, which again links back to our strategic plan with our alignment to the strategic priorities. And then how do these directly support closing the gap? What initiatives are we doing? What initiatives do we need to refine? And I guess a key thing for Ironbark is that we are always looking at how we can amend what we're doing, how we can change our perspective to reflect those who are in our organisation, those who are on the peripheral of our organisation, and how we can respond to the changing needs of our team. And we have to say it's seen quite a large impact on our team, and the conversations we have with our team members have improved, I think, astronomically. Danielle's nodding, not that you can see her. We have to say for those of us who look to the bottom line or are looking at how does this translate, our retention has improved, job satisfaction has improved, job clarity has improved. People are looking at how they can explore their career progression. They are looking to develop themselves. They're coming to us with a few more ideas on what they would like to explore. So there is absolutely a return on the, I guess you could say, investment that you're putting into positive duty, and it has really long-term, long-lasting impacts. So this one here is strengthening Ironbark's positive duty commitment. So Sean mentioned it in the video. Ironbark, one of the first things we did was formalise a commitment statement to positive duty, which was endorsed by our board. The way we designed this was looking at the minimum standards that are on this document here, which we all would have had access to from NTADC. And the key pillars, once again, have come directly from this document. So we've focused on intentional leadership, risk management, knowledge and networks, continuous improvement, reporting and response. So for intentional leadership, what Danielle spent a lot of time working on was how do we translate our values into measurable sort of actions or KPIs, if you will, for our leaders. What does that look like? What are the behaviours we want to see role modelled, and how do they reflect back to positive duty? Risk management, we have sort of looked at this very similarly to WHS so that our teams are familiar with the framework, and use sort of the same risk assessment approach, like a risk matrix approach. Knowledge and networks, it's doing what we're doing right now. We want to share the knowledge. Continuous improvement, we're really big on that here. If we roll something out, we will look at it again. We will see how we can do it better. We will take whatever feedback we can get. We are constantly asking for how we can improve it. Reporting and response, this is something we're working really hard on because the key thing for us is culturally safe and accessible feedback. I think this is probably the biggest area for us to work on, and it's going to be one that's ever going to evolve. So from this document here from NTADC, we developed a positive duty commitment statement endorsed by our board that is distributed to all of our staff when they first on board with Ironbark. And it actually, Danielle will talk more about our corporate inductions coming up, but it is something that gets a lot of conversation in our corporate inductions.
So just to give you some practical examples of some of the steps that we've taken and the measures that we've done to embed the actual practical side of positive duty into our workplace. So we've got quite a list of them here. I'll just pull out a few ones just to give you sort of an idea, and we'll talk through them a bit more. So we have diverse recruitment interview panels. So we recognise the intersectionality that comes out as we look at some of our candidates and look at the role requirements as well. So basically what we do there is we intentionally include diverse perspectives into our recruitment panels to reduce bias and ensure that candidates are assessed fairly. So when I put together a recruitment panel, I will consider gender, race, lived experience, age, backgrounds, a whole lot. So we don't have standardised panels for our recruitment. The panel will chop and change depending on the role, the location, the requirements, and meet the needs of the candidates as well. That said, we use accessible channels and networks to source candidates. So we've gone beyond the mainstream advertising on Seek and other platforms, and we look to use inclusive, community-based and culturally appropriate networks to reach a wider range of candidates, especially those candidates that may face barriers to employment. So we proactively go and seek networks, we seek candidates, we know what roles in our organisation are suitable for those who potentially are facing barriers, and they're the ones that we really go out of our way to kind of look for candidates that may get overlooked for various reasons. So that's why we really step away from the stock standard advertising on Seek where we can. As Nikki touched on earlier, we've redeveloped the corporate induction program. So our corporate induction basically has been designed to introduce new employees to Ironbark's values, and it sets the tone for respectful and inclusive behaviour from day one. So in these inductions, we create a space where we reinforce everyone's rights and responsibilities under positive duty. As far as we're concerned, it's a two-way street. Whilst we have expectations, and particularly outlined in our code of conduct, we also have a responsibility to our team members as well. So we want to reiterate that it is a two-way street. The corporate induction also gives us the opportunity to have conversations with people. We want to make sure that the information that they receive as they work through their onboarding and their induction program, we're also reiterating that in a face-to-face context as well. So we do recognise that a lot of our new employees will potentially have some sort of barriers to whether it's language, literacy, digital capabilities. So what we wanted to create in those corporate inductions was just a different way of communicating that same messaging and being able to unpack it in a safe space and have those open and honest conversations with the employees as well, rather than just saying, here, read the policy, sign off on it, say that you accept it. This gives them the forum to ask those questions, discuss the practical application of what that might look like, or if they feel that something doesn't sit right with them, we can have that conversation in a safe space and everyone can have that chance to raise those concerns or get a good understanding outside of just reading a document. Provide uniforms. So Ironbark will provide uniforms to all our staff, and by providing uniforms, we remove any potential financial barriers to participation. So particularly for those employees who are experiencing financial hardship, this ensures equity in how staff present and how they participate and feel included in their work. And the other one I'll touch on as well is our learning management system. So we've recently rolled out a learning management system, and what that does is it makes learning about respectful behaviour, policies, and the expectations accessible to all of our staff, regardless of their location or their work hours. It supports continuous learning around our rights and responsibilities. So what we do there, that again is not a set and forget. We've curated a playlist of suitable learning modules and learning videos. They're quite interactive and they're quite user-friendly, that all of our new starters are required to undertake. And what those modules do is they actually reinforce the messaging that's coming across in the policies, in the expectations, and also in our responsibilities to our team members as well. So it just gives them that different perspective. Again, they're not just reading a document, they're actually getting this messaging from various different mediums and various different sources as well. Inclusive and accessible policies. So as Nikki's touched on there, our policies are reviewed on a regular basis to incorporate that positive duty lens as well. It has been a bit of a work in progress, and we are very excited that we are a fair way through it now. It's not too far to go, but it's been quite insightful for us as well as we've reviewed the policy, applying the positive duty lens and making sure that our team are feeling seen and that it is reflective of meeting their needs as well. You know, we are not a one-size-fits-all organisation, and we really want to make sure that that comes across in our language and our policies there. So our policies are all written in plain language, they're regularly reviewed, and they're designed to be applied fairly across diverse employee groups. They support safety, dignity, and procedural fairness. Our policies are all accessible to employees via Employment Hero, which is the HRIS platform that we use. We are looking at converting those documents to audio files as well. As I said, we recognise some challenges for some employees, and we just want to make sure that we are meeting the accessibility needs of all our team members there. At Ironbark, we see knowledge sharing as a right, not a privilege. So we treat access to information and development as an entitlement, not as something that's earned by tenure or stature. So no one is in a needs to know category based on their role. We are very transparent in how we share information and knowledge. We don't want to protect anything. We want to be fair, equitable, and transparent in everything we do. This breaks down silos and it supports equity and opportunity across the entire team, not just certain groups. And as we touched on there, we have a very strong commitment to procedural fairness. We meet people where they're at. It's not a one size fits all. So we meet them where we're at, we offer support, we adapt our processes where needed, and we're very, very big on making space for everyone's voice. Everybody has a seat at the table here. Ironbark has a very, very wide table. We want everyone to have a seat and we want everyone to have a voice. And so much of what we do is creating those safe spaces so that people feel that they can speak up.
I think Danielle clearly illustrated that positive duty can be embedded in the workplace across many different areas, and some of those that Danielle's touched on, they all do intersect, and that it's just that reinforcing of the message, and it's all about creating a workplace that is focused on, I think, safety, cultural safety, and focusing on preventing rather than reacting or responding. So for us, we have set some goals which help us keep focused and help us to continue to move forward. And like we said, we do want to share our knowledge, which is why we were very, I guess, honoured to be asked to present, and we're privileged to be sharing our information with you all. And one of our goals is to launch a positive duty information page on Ironbark's website. Implement tailored positive duty training for our leaders and managers, which we have started doing, and obviously that's in close partnership with NTADC. We want to enhance our internal data capture for underreported attributes. We want to develop quantifiable reporting mechanisms for our leaders. We want to foster a positive complaints culture. We see complaints as feedback, and it's what we do with them that counts. And we want to strengthen collaboration with Anti-Discrimination Commission moving forward, which we continue to do. We have also set some long-term goals, and to summarise those, I guess, in 3 points. One of those is to establish Ironbark as a leader in culturally safe, inclusive employment across the NT. We want to build a workforce that reflects and represents the communities we serve. And we also want to create an embedded culture of accountability, safety, and intersectional inclusion. So we have fleshed those out, and we are proactively working towards those. They are long-term, so we're looking towards the end of 2027, which, tying it back, links into our strategic plan again. So here we're going to talk about living our positive duty responsibilities. So as we move into this next section, living our positive duty responsibilities, for us, it's important to recognise that positive duty under Anti-Discrimination Act is more than a legal requirement. It's a proactive obligation to prevent discrimination, harassment, and victimisation before it occurs. This requires us to shift from reacting to issues after they arise to responding early and intentionally with systems, culture, and leadership that support safety and inclusion. We also need to acknowledge the intersectionality of the 24 protected attributes. These attributes don't exist in silos, and people may experience overlapping barriers based on race, gender, disability, past experience with violence, or criminalisation. When we take an intersectional preventative approach, we don't just meet our obligations, we create workplaces that are safer, stronger, and more sustainable for everyone. So we do have 4 de-identified stories that we would like to share with everybody that showcase how we've embedded positive duty into everyday practice. So the intersections are on the screen before you. So the first one I'll touch on is race and family and domestic violence. A team member had become increasingly disengaged with low attendance and no communication around absences. Formal abandonment procedures were being considered. Instead, Ironbark shifted approach. The team member was invited to choose the time and setting for a wellbeing check-in. This created a culturally safe space where the team member disclosed they were experiencing family and domestic violence, not from an intimate partner, but within their extended family. They identified as Aboriginal. Ironbark provided immediate support, connections to culturally appropriate counselling and FDV specialist support services, EAP services, and a return to work plan. The plan included redeployment to a less demanding role and regular wellbeing check-ins. The team member stabilised, re-engaged in work, made significant positive life changes, and later departed Ironbark in strength and on their own terms. We took key learnings from this, and positive duty to us means early human-centred intervention. Cultural safety enables disclosure and engagement, and family violence is not always intimate partner-based, and responses must reflect that.
I'll touch on the next one, which is race, pregnancy and breastfeeding. So with a workforce where 62% of our team members identify as female, Ironbark has been privileged to support the many ways that families grow, including welcoming many new babies. So when team members experience pregnancy, Ironbark proactively explores flexible work arrangements and makes workplace adjustments to support health, comfort and continued participation in the workforce. For breastfeeding or expressing milk, Ironbark recognised the importance of culturally respectful and private spaces. Team members, many of whom identified as Aboriginal, expressed a clear preference to use their own offices where possible, rather than shared spaces. So in response, Ironbark ensured privacy by installing blinds and making adjustments that gave team members the dignity, control and comfort that they needed. This approach reinforced a supportive environment that upholds both individual wellbeing and workforce participation without forcing trade-offs between work and family responsibilities. Our team members, as you've seen, are very, very important to us, and we want to encourage all mothers that take maternity leave to come back to work. So it's crucial for us to be able to create these safe spaces for all of our mums and dads, and make sure that both their family needs and their work needs are being met at the same time without sacrificing anything. So our key learnings from this were positive duty means creating conditions where pregnancy and parenting are respected and not sidelined, that cultural and personal preferences matter. So privacy and dignity can look different for different team members. Workplace flexibility and small physical changes can have a big impact on inclusion and retention. And listening and adapting ensures that rights are upheld in ways that reflect real life needs of our team.
The next one that I'll touch on is race and irrelevant medical records. So we had a team member experience a medical episode at work. The condition had not been previously disclosed. So Ironbark, after ensuring the person's safety and wellbeing, invited the team member to attend a meeting and encouraged them to bring a support person. The team member attended with a family member, and unfortunately they were expecting termination, a reflection of previous workplace experiences. Instead, the conversation focused on support, privacy and continued employment. Ironbark determined that the medical diagnosis and condition was not relevant in terms of in relation to the work or the task that this individual was carrying out. The team members' needs could be met without invasive scrutiny. A tailored support strategy was co-developed with the team member and the team member's family member. The team member who identified as Aboriginal returned to work with renewed confidence, strong performance and consistent communication, and has continued to do so, and has actually come and spoken to many different team members to express their gratitude at being treated and respected for a person and not as their medical record. The key learnings for us in this situation were respecting privacy as part of our inclusive practices. Medical disclosures should be assessed through the lens of relevance, not fear, and culturally safe, family inclusive planning fosters trust and retention.
And I will touch on the last one, being race and irrelevant criminal record. So working with children cards and police checks where required are fairly standard for Ironbark roles. A team member who was newly returned to the workforce and absolutely thriving had disclosures flagged on their police check. Rather than defaulting to exclusion, Ironbark took a risk-based approach. A role-specific assessment was conducted, similar to a workplace health and safety risk process assessment. Most disclosures were historical and not relevant to the current role. Those that were addressed through controls, such as temporarily restricting driving duties and scheduling regular check-ins. The team member, who identified as Aboriginal, remained employed, and continues to contribute positively to the organisation. Our key learnings from this were that risk can be managed without excluding people unfairly. Positive duty requires a focus on relevance, not assumptions, and systemic disadvantage should not be repeated through rigid hiring practices.
Danielle and I also wanted to highlight that we do have some challenges as we navigate positive duty and our diverse workforce, and some of those challenges we've listed here. And again, as Danielle said at the onset of this, we are not perfect, and we are just looking at ways we can do better, be better, and work collectively with our teams. One of our challenges is our data gaps and our intersectionality blind spots. We don't know what we don't know, so it's creating an environment where disclosures are, I guess, more forthcoming and protecting people's privacy as those disclosures are made, and then what we do with that information. And I think the more we role model, as we just showcased with you, those living or real examples of what we do with that information, I think we are creating that environment where we will see more disclosures. Limited internal data collection. I guess that's more tied to our system capability, how we collect the data, what we can collect. But again, coming back to privacy and reassurance for our team, what are we doing with that data? That's really important. One for us, again, is our leader readiness and capacity. It's equipping our leaders with the tools that they need to respond and prevent and preempt under positive duty, and then equip them to be in a position where they can positively influence, and ensuring they have the capacity to do so, because we also must be mindful that they do have day-to-day work that they need to carry out. We are really focused on creating a psychologically safe reporting culture, and that ties back into our leader readiness and capacity. They go hand in hand, and as Danielle showcased with the umbrella that what sits under Ironbark, we have a very diverse workforce, a very diverse operational footprint, and a very diverse range of business arms. And so how do we embed positive duty across all of those? And as Danielle's mentioned a few times, one size doesn't fit all, so that is absolutely a challenge for us.
But yeah, as Nikki touched on earlier, we do see this as a journey. It is a continuous trip for us that we are working through. We continue to build on our knowledge and we continue to work, and we are super keen to hear what other organisations are doing as well, because for us it is very much continual learning. We're working on, we've got this fantastic team that are really dedicated to the cause, so that supports us in what we're trying to achieve here. We are constantly evolving. We are being adaptive and responsive to the needs of our people, and also the communities and the economic climate and everything like that we work in when you run a business that you need to be across. We are taking the approach that this is a continual process. We're not going to get to a certain point and tick the boxes and go, yeah, we're done. That's it. It will just be part of who we are and what we do. And as we've got there, our overall goal is that positive duty becomes our business as usual.
And that wraps it up for us. So we will stop sharing the screen and hand back to Stephen.
Thank you very much, Nikki and Danielle. That was really good. There was heaps in there. I'll throw it open to people who are online. Do you have any questions? Raise your hand, and yeah, we can. Yeah, Daryl.
Hi, thank you so much for facilitating this session. I always find these very, very useful and insightful, so thank you for that. A couple questions for you. Tell me about risk assessments for positive duty.
So what do they look like for us? We've taken what we do in the WHS space and applied the same sort of framework. So I guess an example for us is we work in the CDP space. So we have an employment services office where we are servicing job seekers. So we are looking at that through a positive duty lens, and how do we create a safe environment for our team with regards to psychosocial hazards, which also falls under the WHS framework. For us, it's continually about looking at these intersections, and we're looking at how do we create safe reporting lines for our teams? How do we create appropriate training that allows our team to thrive in those roles? How do we create a space where they can support one another? And how do we classify the risk of that site? So that site would be sort of a medium risk, given the nature of people who are coming through, the sensitive nature of the I guess the interactions between job seekers and our staff, and then what do we need to do to apply controls to reduce the risk? If that makes sense, Daryl, we're always about reducing the risk of some of these psychosocial hazards. It's all about prevention for us, and it is really the same framework as WHS at this point in time for us.
Can you give me an example?
So our for that site,
For risk assessment.
we can share some stuff with you for our WHS if you like, because we will need to show you through some of the documents. But
That'd
we
be
are
great.
happy to.
Thank you.
And if someone else has a different approach and they're applying something that doesn't sort of correlate with the WHS, we would be really excited to see that. We're leaning in towards what we are doing, what we know, and then sort of, I guess, diversifying off that to apply it to a positive duty lens.
Yeah.
But it has helped us identify sites where there is a higher risk of these things happening.
Right. One more quick question. I don't want to hog all the time. You mentioned learning videos. Where do you source those?
We actually get ours through our HRIS, so through Employment Hero. There is a capacity there for a learning management system as an add-on to the platform, and within that platform there sits in the vicinity of about 100,000 different pre-recorded from different provider training videos. So at this stage we are tailoring sort of off the shelf. We ultimately will look to develop internally. But it just means that Nikki and I have spent a lot of time watching training videos and making sure that they are the right fit, that the language is right, that the messaging is aligned to what we're looking at as well. So happy to sort of give some direction there offline if anyone is interested in what that looks like and how we use it.
Yeah, yes, please, and thank you very much.
No worries.
No worries.
Thank you, Daryl. I would go to Rachel and then to Rebecca.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that was an extremely comprehensive presentation, and thank you. It was very interesting and nicely put together.
Oh, thank you.
And I just wanted to also let Daryl Truman know that we have some resources on the NT WorkSafe website that specifically speak about doing a risk assessment for the positive duty. Just pop in positive duty into the search panel.
Thanks, Rachel.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Rachel. Rebecca.
Yeah, my question comes off the back of Daryl's really around we're implementing Employment Hero, and I wanted to know how that helped you along this journey and whether you've got any tips on what to use within that system.
So many.
It helped phenomenally.
Yeah, I think for us, and yeah, as we've sort of talked through, we have an incredibly diverse footprint of not just locations, but business units, age groups, whatnot there. So for us, prior to implementing the system, we didn't have that single source of truth. So that's what Employment Hero has created for us. And that's one of the biggest benefits that we've seen, is having that single source of truth. But it also works for the employees where they now have transparency on their employment with Ironbark. So in the past, they've never actually had access to any of their employee information. So for us, that creates that trust and that transparency in everything that we do, because our team now can see all of their information. It's given us the tools also from a management perspective to be able to support our leaders as far as giving them the frameworks to have one-on-one conversations, to set performance goals, to everything from, whilst I said, we've got the learning management system as part of our platform, we've taken the time and curated the content that we want, but it also allows the team members, they've got full access to everything. We don't restrict anything there. So if they want to go in and learn about whatever it might be that takes their fancy, they've got full access to that. It encourages our leaders to work with their people as well, to have those conversations around, well, what do you want to do? What challenges are you facing? And leverage that tool to support them to say, hey, I'm really not good at time management. I can see how it's impacting my day-to-day work. What can we do to help? And we can look at some different modules and support that learning journey with some online content there, as well as regular check-ins. So it's just allowed us to sort of really have those more, I guess, deeper conversations. It's allowed us to start capturing and quantifying a lot more employee data. As Nikki said, we've still got a bit of scope to go around the data that we're collecting, but it's given us a really good footprint into starting that process. Everything from compliance data, we now have a lot simplified process to make sure that we have everything, rather than manual Excel spreadsheets and relying on someone to have something in the calendar if it's expiring. It's just that centralized single source of truth that's completely transparent. So
thanks so much. Thanks for that information. It's really, really helpful, and presentation's brilliant. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Michelle.
Hi, I'm Michelle. I'm the chair of the CAPS Aboriginal Corporation Board. Really applaud you for what you're doing in this space. It was fantastic. Your presentation, really loved it. I'm wondering about your scope, probably not right now, but to talk to small Aboriginal organisations around how you got into this, the work that's required, also the lessons that you guys have learned along the way. Are you willing and able to do that?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great. And the way to go about that would be, is it through yourselves or through Stephen or Charlie Sharples, or just somebody at your organisation to try and set something up along those lines?
You can just reach out to me directly, and we really want to foster connections and share learning. And one of the things Danielle mentioned about how we embed positive duty here is that sharing knowledge is everybody's right, and we don't see this as Ironbark's solidly our IP.
No.
We want to share it, and we want everybody to share stuff with us too. We want to learn. We want to do those 1%ers to be better than we were yesterday. And if it's going to benefit our team and benefit the community, we're right there for it.
Yeah, it's 100% not a competition. We're not coveting anything. We want to share. If one of our hard learnings makes your journey easier, we are more than happy to share that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Michelle. I think Nina, I saw a hand up.
I was actually trying to give the love heart symbol because that was really heartwarming, but I accidentally put my hand up. So, yeah.
Thank you, Dana.
No worries. No worries at all, Nina. A learning journey for us all. Any other questions that people may have? I have some concluding remarks, but perhaps Jeswin, would you like to add anything at this point?
I think just to add what everyone else is feeling at this stage, which is a great relief to hear such a great presentation from Ironbark. I think it's been a great journey just working with Ironbark. I remember about a year ago when we first had our discussion about the how question, and over the iterative meetings that we've had in terms of how to get it right, but it wasn't a question of getting it right. It was an iterative process of the evolution that we're going through the journey. And we then came to that approach saying, let's just make it strength-based, where it doesn't matter where your maturity journey is at this stage. It's getting started. but also then I love the way in which we are working together, because it's about how we're helping each other through this process. And this is why these sort of thought leadership sessions are so important. It's about sharing information, but also saying, this is where we're at, but you can be at anywhere in this journey and still sort of have something to share within these sessions, because we're all in it together, really.